Want me to come visit you? Here's how to get your favorite Indy Dyers to come to your local yarn store and festivals near you. Hey there, Fiber Junkies! Welcome back to the Color Cauldron. I'm Johanna, the owner and dyer behind Potion Yarns and host of this podcast. And if you are a new viewer, thank you so much for joining us. If you're a returning Fiber Junkie, welcome back to the family. So glad you're here. Today we have a little more show review for you. So last week I had a video about Fiber in the Borough in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. It was a one-day Fiber festival / retreat that I went to. Super fun, really great experience, really great people, awesome vendor market, really great animals to pet and see, and really great yarns and everything else. It was a lot of fun, and I was coming home in between that show and going out for my next show the next weekend, and I was home for 3 days, in which case I had to work at the hair salon, film and edit and upload a podcast, and just take care of general life stuff, as well as dyeing some extra yarn to help round out my offerings at the next one. So I was a little crazy. So the video was kind of short and was basically just about my experience and the haul, as well as some stuff that I'm working on. I really wanted to share with you guys a little bit about my recent trip to the East Texas Fiber Festival, which this year was held in Lindale, Texas. Someplace I'd never heard of before or never been to. So that was always fun. Getting to go to a new place is always interesting and fun. And I had the best experience there because typically when I'm traveling, I started traveling a little bit more for work this year, and going to these... Phoebe, stop. I had the best time at East Texas this year, and I started traveling more for work this year, going to more festivals, trunk shows, yarn shows, etc. And I'm hoping to do even more next year, so just keep ramping up. But in doing all of that traveling, especially as a very young business that is still kind of getting off the ground and still trying to just make sure that I'm turning a decent profit and covering all my expenses as well as paying myself, which can be tricky at times. I am always very concerned about trying to keep my expenses as low as possible. So one of the things that I really enjoy doing is using Airbnb instead of traditional hotels when I travel. And I am so glad, because I got so lucky, you guys. I had the best Airbnb ever. It was an actual bed and breakfast. So sometimes you're actually just staying in somebody's house, and you can rent the whole apartment or house a lot of times where the person's not there. You just get access to their house while they're away, or it's just a rental property they have. I tend to prefer those because then there's no awkward interaction with hosts. I know I'm completely on my own. I do kind of like to kick back and sing in the shower when I'm traveling and things, so I tend to prefer those. But because of finances and just some of the smaller towns that I've gone to just haven't had that option, I have often booked a room in somebody's home where I get a private room and a private bathroom, but it's actually in a family's home, and so I'm just I come in, say hi awkwardly, walk down the hall, and lock myself in my room for the night, right? But there's also ones where you get an actual bed and breakfast. We'll be renting out their rooms on there, and so sometimes you'll get breakfast included. And I tend to prefer those ones as well to the standard Airbnb because, they are just a little bit nicer. They're actually set up to be in the hospitality business. They're looking at it as a business. It's not just some people coming in, making a little extra cash on the side, renting out my spare room and whatnot. I know everything's going to be really clean. I know things are going to be professional. I know if I have a question, it's going to go through the proper channels. And so when I can, I like to book the actual bed and breakfast, but frequently that's not an option on there. However, I got super lucky with this one because it was a real bed and breakfast, not just a room in somebody's home. I didn't know that when I booked it, but it worked out great. So I really want to recommend to you guys this new bed and breakfast in Tyler, Texas, which is right next to Lindale, called Wren in the Willows. That's where I stayed, and Lewis and Angel, the owners, were absolutely phenomenal, so sweet, probably the sweetest people I've ever come into contact with on my trips. Just incredibly welcoming and caring. Their home was phenomenal, so comfortable, so beautiful, so clean, everything. I walked in and I instantly felt at home. And part of that is probably because I live in an old home. It's well over 100 years old, and their home is quite old as well. So some of it was just the familiar comfort of coming into this really cool, pretty, nice, clean, slightly updated but still very vintagey older home with hardwood floors and the cool grand staircase and everything. It felt like home because I'm used to that at home. But also it was just, they had created this really cozy, welcoming environment, and I walked in and instantly felt at home. So I'm gonna share a little video that I took. They gave me permission to do a little tour of their B&B to show you guys some of the really cool features. So let's take a look at it. Okay, so quick little tour of my amazing B&B. If you guys make it out to Tyler, Texas, you should definitely try to stay in the Wren in the Willows. It's an amazing little B&B. Lewis and Angel are great hosts, very sweet. And this place just has all kinds of great detail. It's a beautiful old home, and they've just put a lot of work into the furnishings and all the nice little touches. One of my favorite things is that there's cushy blankets like everywhere, so if you get cold, which I do all the time, it's really great. They have a guitar in the corner, and I forget what that little thing is called, but it's one of those little things you sit on and you can drum on it. And this beautiful old piano, so you're allowed to play any of the instruments that you like. And there's more cozy blankets and sitting down. This is kind of the front room. And then in here we have the dining room with a great window seat. And this is one of my personal favorite parts. There's a port station. So they keep a bottle of port here with some lovely little glasses and a decanter, and you can help yourself to port. And then through here we have the kitchen. Dishes and stuff in here, little treats in the treat jars. There's this really cute little breakfasting nook that I got to eat breakfast at this morning with a little coffee and tea station, so that's nice. And then this beautiful kitchen. I'm in love. I really want to redo my kitchen, and this is just beautiful. Look at that fabulous chandelier. I love that chandelier. So they have a great kitchen. They keep some snacks in the pantry and the refrigerator for you. This is kind of a cool pantry. It was a hallway, she said. But she made it into a pantry. So you walk in and then go behind the door, and then, I'm not gonna turn on the lights, but back there is where all the food is. So they keep like breakfasty things like cereals and some snacks and stuff in there. Just one of my favorite things about this is just all the thoughtful touches they included. It really is nice. Just a really cozy little spot. And then this is also a very cool room. In the back there is another bedroom that's currently empty, but it can be rented. But this is the library, and they have a couple of different spots around the house have these games set up that you can play. And then they have more games over here if you're staying with friends or family. And they've also got books on the bookshelf that you're welcome to borrow and read. There's a little desk if you want to work here down here instead of in your room. It's just very, very cozy. And these gorgeous plush chairs. Seriously, guys, I want to live here. I really want to live here. It's so phenomenal. It's just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful space. And then that goes up to the coffee station in the hallway and the bedrooms. So yeah. If you guys are in Tyler, Texas, or any of the surrounding areas, you should come stay at Wren in the Willows. It's amazing. I hope you guys really enjoyed that little film. I just had fun walking around before the other guests got there when I had the house to myself, really enjoying just showing off some of the fun little features like the port on the sideboard and the house mystery with the clues and everything. Okay, confession time. I did not do the house mystery. That is actually the reason I booked it. Who doesn't want to book a house mystery? It's like an escape room with like fun little clues that lead you on like a treasure hunt around the house and stuff. I did attempt it. So the first night I got in, I was just way too tired when I got done with dinner and stuff, so I figured I'd do it later. The second night I was there, after I'd had one day of selling all day at the East Texas Fiber Fest, I went home, had dinner, got relaxed, and somebody else was staying there that night, but they hadn't checked in yet when I got there, so I was like, ooh, I have the house to myself. I did the little tour video, and then I decided I was going to go ahead and try to do the clues. So I attempted the first one. I solved the first one fairly quickly, and then I was reading the second clue, and I wandered around the room that it was in for like over 30 minutes, checking every single book, every nook and cranny, looking under every chair, every table. Like, I could not figure it out, and I felt really dumb and really irritated because I think of myself as fairly smart, but I was struggling. And I realized I've done escape rooms before, but I've only ever done them in groups. So I've always had at least 3 or 4 other people with me, if not a larger group. And so like I definitely contribute. And I'm like, I helped a lot with that. And I do. But then I realized, yeah, but I never do the whole thing by myself. And even my contributions, it's kind of like a conversation with the other people. Like I'm like, oh, look, I bet it means this. And they'll be like, oh yeah, or this. And we'll like put stuff together. And together we arrive at the solution. It's never me by myself, and I was by myself. So it started to be not as much fun because I was like, this is kind of lame by myself. Like it would be so much fun if I had even just one other person here. But since I was staying alone, I was like, it's not as much fun, and I was really tired. So I was like, I kind of just want to go up to my room and read a book and go to bed. But I figured I'd give it a try. But then I also felt embarrassed because I was like, wow, I'm just really not smart. I don't think it was that per se. I did end up I talked to the owners the next night, and they gave me another little hint for the clue, and I was like, oh, well now I get it. Now I probably could finish it. And I thought about going back and finishing it, but frankly after Saturday selling all day, then breaking down my booth alone and loading up my car by myself and going out and grabbing dinner and stuff and getting back, I was just dead, and I was like, no, this is not happening. So I've decided I'm going to have to go back down. I'm looking for every excuse I can find to go back to Tyler, Texas and stay at Wren in the Willows because they were such lovely people. The house was so cozy and delightful. I really enjoyed my stay. There were some fun little shops and restaurants right downtown, and their little bed and breakfast is right downtown. So within walking distance of the B&B, there's some really nice restaurants and cute little shops and things. And so I would really love to go back with my husband or my sister or somebody at some point and just have a little weekend trip and try the house mystery with a friend. But if you get a chance, please go book it. You will not regret it. It will be an amazing, amazing trip and super affordable. It was really phenomenal. Okay, so let's show you guys what I actually picked up at the East Texas Fiber Festival. I did not pick up Phoebe there. She was already here. I don't know if you guys can even see her if she's in frame, but Phoebe's sitting on my lap being adorable because she's super snuggly and sweet. Okay, so I tried to be good, you guys, and I could have been a lot worse than I was, but I did let loose and buy a few things. I discovered some new dyers that I'd never heard of before there that had just phenomenal yarns, and I also had a couple people I was familiar with. I did not get to purchase everything that I wanted to. Moon Tower Dyeworks was there. If you guys don't follow her, check her shop out. Anna is just so sweet. Anna and Whitney are so sweet. And I really enjoyed hanging out with some of the other dyers like Anna and Whitney from Moon Tower. But I did not get to purchase any of their yarns this time. I had to be kind of good, and I was running out of money very rapidly. And I was trying really hard to make a decent profit at this show, so I couldn't turn around and spend it all. But I did indulge in a few little things because there were some dyers I really wanted to try, and some special things that I just had to get. So the first thing that I got was a new to me dyer called Chicken Coop Dyeworks. I'll put a link to all these websites below, but their website is coopdye.com. This is their label. And I bought 2 skeins from her because her prices were pretty good, but I just couldn't walk away from these colors. I was like, these are phenomenal. So this is a DK, kind of a heavier DK weight. It is her hen base. All of her base names have to do with chickens and farmers, and so there's like hen, feathers, etc. So this one is the hen base. It's a 100% superwash merino heavy DK, 246 yards in a skein. And this colorway is called Texas Tea. And it is absolutely stunning. There's what really sold me was this strip of vibrant deep cranberry red next to these tealy blues, and then there's some amazing greens and browns. I mean, it's just stunning. And you know, superwash merino, I can tell it's a good merino. It's a super squishy, soft. I was in her booth like going like this. Oh yeah, it's good. I probably looked like a total creeper because it was kind of dark in there, and she was talking to some other people at the front of the booth, and I went back into the very back corner of her booth. I wasn't trying to be creepy, but that's where the pretty stuff was. And then I was like looking at it, and I'd been at the front looking at some stuff, and I had a couple skeins from the front that I was originally going to get that I ended up putting back because my budget didn't go that far. because I kept going back and being like, oh, this is even prettier. Oh, further back it's even prettier. And I found this one, and I'm like in the back squishing the different DK weights and trying to decide which one I want. And yeah, I probably look like a total creeper, but it is absolutely stunning. What I loved about her colors is she has a very rich tone, and if you know anything about me, you know I'm a sucker for rich jewel tones, and colors that are just like vibrant and glowing and look really deep are always going to draw me in. That's what I try to go for in all of my skeins. That's what I advertise my stuff as, is the really rich, deep, vibrant colors that are just, they shimmer in the light. And this girl, she's got it. She did it so well. And I can't believe I've never heard of her, because she's just phenomenal. And so I'm really excited about this one. I have no idea what I'm going to use either of the skeins that I got from her for, but I don't have very much DK, so this last year has been an attempt to beef up my DK and sport weight and worsted, but especially DK stash, because I like never have DK, and so I keep finding all these patterns I love, but then I never have anything in stash, and then I have to go buy it, and yeah, and half the time I just don't. I just go back and pick out something from fingering, because that's always what I buy. So I did buy a fingering skein as well. Again, you can see the absolutely rich, glowing colors. I don't know how to describe it other than glowing. So this is an 80% merino, superwash merino, 20% silk base. It is a 2-ply, like several of my yarns in the shop, and it's 400 yards of fingering. And this one is called, the base yarn is called Feathers, and it is just so light and drapey and smooth. And then the colorway is called Autumn Leaves. And I loved these like shimmery, it's like electric lavender is the only way I can think to describe it. It's a real pinky lavender. It's not super dark, but it's like vibrant and glowing and like, oh my God. And then this yellowy green down here has my heart so hard right now. So again, no clue what I'm gonna do with it, but it's phenomenal. So I'm gonna put a link to her website below. Again, she's brand new to me. I'd never even heard of her, but I'm obsessed, and I am definitely going to try to find at least one, if not 2 projects to knit these up very soon, so that I kind of want to stash them for a while just because they're so pretty, but I also really want to knit them so I can decide, is this something that I need to start putting in my budget to go back and buy more of if I see her again, or just get on her website and buy more of, because I love it. I love it. This is Indy dyed yarn done right, y'all. Okay. Next thing I got was another brand new to me Dyer. This was really fun. This show was relatively small. It wasn't like teeny, but it wasn't big. It was pretty small. But I felt like they did a really good job of bringing in really unique and interesting talent and a wide range. I felt like all the Indy Dyers there was just a very wide variety of styles represented. Okay, so the other person that was brand new to me, and I'm probably going to butcher this name, so I apologize in advance to the Dyer here, because I'm not sure how to pronounce this, and like an idiot, I forgot to ask her and write it down or record her saying it so that I could say it correctly. So I think it is Keymarie's Knickknacks. That's how I'm going to say it. It could be Keymarie, but that doesn't sound right to me. But I have no idea. So it's Keymarie's Knickknacks, and they had some absolutely stunning yarns. This was another one, just like Chicken Coop. I really struggled to stick to just buying one skein. I had about 5 that I was like, I'm taking all of these, and then I was like, no, I still have booths I want to visit before I leave here that I know I'm going to want to buy from, so I need to put those back. So I ended up just getting one. I was really good and tried to limit myself. And I'm so excited because the one that I fell in love with and just could not put back and insisted had to come home with me, when I went to go ring out, they told me this was the creation of, I don't know if it was her son or nephew or what, but this kid in her booth that was helping sell named Ethan. And so on the label it says Ethan's Creations. So I'm guessing it's her son or something. Her kid that helps her out was, he dyes some of the yarn. And I forgot to ask him how old he was, but my guess is 10 to 12, somewhere in there, possibly 13. I'm terrible at guessing kids' ages though, so I could 100% be off. But he definitely wasn't like little, but he wasn't really like an older teenager yet. So I'm guessing 10 to 13. But he was so cute, and he had done several of the yarns that I was gonna buy, and I ended up putting them back and just getting this one. And I was like, I'm so glad I got that, because he is so talented. Look at this thing. It's so good. I'm like so impressed. I was impressed when I thought she was the one that did it, and then I found out this kid did it, and I'm like, oh my god, kid, I need a kid like that to come help me out, you know, get some child labor going in my booth. So hopefully if I ever have a kid, they will inherit my dye talents and they can help me in the business someday. But you know, right now my only kids are fur babies and they're not so good at dyeing. But this kid did a great job. So the color that I bought from him is Waracorn, like unicorn, but war at the front, Waracorn, which is the coolest name ever. And it's sparkly. It's a stellina base. So it's 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 5% stellina. And if you know anything about me, besides rich jewel tones, you know that my other weakness is sparkle, especially when it's that really light dusting of subtle stellina like this is. So I have no idea. I'm leaning towards a brioche shawl for this, but I have not picked anything out yet, like a 2-color brioche, so this on one side and something else gorgeous on the back side. But I don't know. I even thought maybe these two could go together in a brioche, but I'm not sure if I like that yet. So I don't know. We're not sure yet. Oh, Phoebe, darling. Pardon me, my love. I only bought yarn at this show. I was planning to buy a project bag and some sock blockers if I found any. I did find some, but they were just like the basic, like kind of wire ones. They weren't like wood ones, and that's what I really want. So I ended up not buying any tools. I was going to get a project bag, and then I spent more than my budget on yarn, so I couldn't get a project bag. But I'm thinking about maybe ordering from a couple of the makers that were there later on when I get some more money. We'll see. We'll see. I don't really need another project bag. I just crave them desperately, and y'all know that I'm not monogamous in my knitting, so I have like 16 things going at once, and so it's really hard for me not to have everything in its own separate little bag so that it stays clean and I don't have tangled yarn and all that stuff. So the next thing I did, or the last vendor that I bought from at the show, was actually just a yarn shop. I say just a yarn shop, like that's a little thing, but typically when I go to these events, I try to avoid buying commercial yarns, and I even tend to steer away from indie dyed yarn if it's not like local, because at these types of shows, I really try to get local stuff or other dyers, even if they're not local there, but other small indie dyers, either ones that I'm familiar with, like Moon Tower or Leon Alexander, or ones that are brand new to me, like Chicken Coop and Keymarie, if I'm saying that right, Keymarie. I'm so paranoid. Because I really like supporting other small businesses. I feel like you get really unique, interesting stuff that way, and that's what I love about indie dyed yarn, is just how unique and interesting it is. Okay, so anyways, I visited a yarn shop booth because it was right across the aisle from me, so I, like all day long, I could see all this gorgeous indie dyed yarn, and I liked that she was a yarn shop, and she had a couple commercial companies like Fiber Company and things like that up, but mostly what was in her booth was indie dyed yarn that just was yarn she wholesales in her shop, but they were from some of the bigger indie dyers. So I recognized a couple of smaller ones that I know on Instagram that just weren't there personally but wholesale to her, but then she had larger ones like Hedgehog fibers and some of those bigger ones. So I decided that I was going to purchase a couple skeins from her because there were 2 dyers particularly that I have been wanting to get a hold of some of their yarn for like 3 or 4 years, and either because of not having enough money in the budget at the time, or they were sold out of the color I wanted, or I found another indie dyer that was right there at the festival that I wanted more, or something, whatever. There were always all these reasons for why I couldn't just get online and order it or just buy it at a yarn shop or whatever. So finally I was like, nope, this is the time. I'm going to break down and I'm going to buy a skein each from these indie dyers that I want to try. So the first one is called Barnyard Knits. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but I've followed her since I very first opened a business account on Instagram. She has absolutely stunning colors, and what I love about her colors is they're very different from mine. In some senses they're the same, because I feel like this one's really deep and dark, but I feel like she tends to do neutrals and softer woodsy colors so well, and her speckles are on point. So I fell in love with everything in their booth that she had. The yarn shop is called Yarnia. I neglected to ask her which part of Texas they're in, but they're down somewhere in Texas, but it's called Yarnia, like Narnia, but with yarn, which is really cute. And the owner and the employee working in the booth were just absolutely sweet and lovely, and we had a lovely little chat. So I really enjoyed them, but I was so excited to finally get to try some Barnyard Knits because they've been on my list to order from for like 2.5 years since I first discovered them. And so this is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon sock yarn. It's 463 yards, and the colorway is called Bear Hugs. And it's this really cool, like, brown with a little bit of like dark brown that's almost black, and then some really soft beigey pale. It's really gorgeous, and it's not the kind of thing that I have a few browns and neutrals in my shop, and I do like to have some of those, but I don't have a ton of them, and this isn't the type of thing I normally gravitate towards buying. Usually this is what I buy, not this. So if you guys watched my video last week, you know that I bought a really nice neutral tonal from Vocabulary Yarns, because it was outside of my comfort zone, but it was really gorgeous, and I was like, I need more neutrals and like things to kind of ground variegateds and speckles, as well as things on their own to just look really good with fancy complicated stitch work. And this one was just a really pretty neutral, but also it's like variegated with some speckles, and so it was the perfect blend of everything. So I decided to get that, so I can't wait to try that. And then my last purchase was actually the first thing that I bought this year, but I saved it to the end because I'm excited. I finally bought a skein of Hedgehog yarn. I have wanted to try Hedgehog for like 4 years since I first learned about her, but my local yarn shops currently don't sell her. There is a brand new one going in Kansas City, which I can't wait for, and they're gonna be one of my wholesale stockists. I've actually just finished her order yesterday, so it's drying right now, and I'm gonna be delivering it very soon. But I'm very excited for the new yarn shop, and she is going to have Hedgehog. So we'll finally have a local Kansas City store that has Hedgehog fibers in their shop. Oh, and I guess now that I say that, I realize I misspoke. They didn't used to have it, but recently one of the shops out in the suburbs of Kansas City, Yarn Shop and More, that I've done a trunk show at before, and is a lovely little shop that I really enjoy. I get a lot of my needles there because she stocks more variety of circular needles than the other shops. She has recently gotten some Hedgehog in, but she tends to, when she gets it, it goes so fast. So the last time I was in there, she had like 2 skeins sitting on the shelf, and I was like, when did you get Hedgehog? And she's like, oh, a few months ago, but it took forever for the wholesale order to get in, and they're on a really long wait list. And then once I got it, I put it out, and it was gone in like 30 minutes. And I was like, dang, girl, like, this stuff goes so freaking fast. So I've wanted to try it for a really long time, but it's a little pricey. It's a little higher price than some of the other Indy dyed yarns, and so I wanted to make sure that I got a color I really loved. And I've been seeing for a couple of years now this color called Fool's Gold. That's one of her best sellers, and every time I've seen it, anybody in the hank and knit it up, crochet it up, whatever, it always looks stunning. And I was like, that's the color I want. And nobody has had it locally or at any of the shows that I've gone to. When they do have Hedgehog, they don't have it. I've looked online, and I always seem to find the shops that just sold out of it, so they don't have any more. So I was so excited because they had exactly 1 skein left. If they'd had 3, I would have bought 3. But they only had 1 left by the time I got to their booth of Fool's Gold. So it's this really great mustardy gold color, and then there's like white splotches that have all these bright, crazy speckles all over it. I have no idea what it's going to be. It's probably going to be stashed for a while because I want it to be something special, and I've been on the hunt for this yarn for years. So we'll see how that goes, but that's what I'm planning to do. So that's my haul from the East Texas Fiber Festival. Really, really fun. So excited to try new dyers. All of these dyers that I bought are new to me. So Barnyard and Hedgehog I was familiar with before and have been trying to get a hold of, but just had never tried. The other 2 I'd never even heard of. So I'm really excited to have some brand new stuff to try, some new things to test out, and I'll let you know how it goes. Hopefully I can cast on at least one of my new things fairly soon. I'm gonna have to do some Ravelry diving for patterns for quite some time. I feel like I'm gonna need a couple hours to sit down with a glass of wine and lots of time and some soft music to just look through Ravelry patterns for like hours and figure out what my next couple projects are gonna be with some of these great yarns. Okay, so let's get on to the thing I promised you in the teaser at the beginning of the video. So I did want to tell you guys, one of the things that I've been getting a lot this year, since I'm traveling more and I'm starting to go around, and I like to do videos and photos at the shows that I'm at, and I talk about it on the podcast, I've had an awful lot of people this year that have started getting kind of sad because I never come to their area. And so I've had a lot of people sending me messages or commenting on my posts on social media and saying, when are you coming to fill in the blank with whatever their town or a close city is? Or why aren't you part of XYZ Fiber Festival? So I wanted to talk to you guys just a little bit about Indy Dyers particularly, since that's my only experience with this, and how you can get us to come visit you. So Indy Dyers, when we get started, are usually self-financed. We very seldom have loans from a bank. I will say I pay myself. I don't pay myself a living wage yet. That's why I still work at the hair salon. Also, I love it, but that's largely why I still work at the hair salon. And that's why I'm limited in days that I can dye, because I have another job, because this doesn't pay me enough to be my sole income yet. Days that I can travel, etc. I have to work all of that around another job. The majority of Indy Dyers that I know have another job, and or their other job is a stay-at-home mom with their kids. I don't have kids yet, so I just have a husband, cats, and another job to juggle. But I know a lot of people who are juggling multiple jobs and children and a husband and whatever. It's very hard work and very stressful. So all that to say, we're not avoiding you and your town because we don't like you or we're too snobby for you or whatever. Usually what it comes down to is, number one, finances. We have a huge financial burden already. Many of us are struggling to pay ourselves, if we pay ourselves at all. If we do pay ourselves and are able to pay a living wage and this is our full-time gig, that doesn't mean we're rich by any means. It doesn't mean we're rolling in dough, and we can't just take vacations wherever we want. Eventually my goal is to be coast to coast and to actually get to go to shows on both coasts. That is the goal. However, I'm a very new business, and right now juggling another job, struggling with the finances, trying to make sure that I make a profit, etc., and that I don't spend 5 days driving. I have to take in mind how far I'm traveling, the expenses, how many days off work it is, etc. So that's a big part of it, which the finances is a big part. The time, like I've already kind of mentioned, is another big part of it. Another reason is profitability. We have to make sure it's profitable, and I get invited to a lot of little shows that are just general craft shows, and in my experience, selling indie dyed yarn at the price points that I sell it at a craft show, unless it's somewhere where I'm gonna go on vacation or I'm gonna stay with friends or family anyway, so my expenses are less and it's kind of just for fun, it's not gonna be profitable. It's not a good business risk for me. I tend to look for trunk shows and local yarn shops, bigger yarn festivals, even small to medium but yarn only. Like East Texas wasn't very big, Fiber in the Borough wasn't that big, but it was yarn only. It was a yarn weekend, so everyone that came there was coming to take classes and shop for yarn and fiber and wool. It was a very niche audience, so I did very well. At shows where you've got handmade jewelry and handmade soaps and art prints right next to my indie dyed yarn, the huge majority of customers there are coming for a done product. They'd buy something if I had a hand crocheted shawl, but when I'm selling the raw materials and I'm like, here, you need to do it yourself, if they don't already know how to knit, they're probably like, why would I buy yarn for $28 a skein when I can get it for $4 a skein at Joann's, and I don't even know what I'm doing and I don't want to mess up your nice stuff. Like, I hear that all the time. So keep that in mind. So here's how you can get me to come, or any other indie dyer. And again, I can't say for anybody else, some people might have other restrictions, but for me, here's how you can get me to come visit you. First of all, get connected with your local yarn shop. If you have one in your town or in a surrounding town, go in, become a regular. You don't have to necessarily buy every single time you go in there, but please try to support them. They need to keep their doors open, and it's hella expensive. Before I started my Indy Dyed Yarn Company, I looked into opening a yarn shop in Kansas City, much like the one that is actually now opening up. That was my dream too, and I looked into it and was like, nope, I don't have the time or the money or the patience to deal with this. I can't handle the stress. And when it came down to it, I decided I'd rather dye and sell my own yarn than somebody else's. So I'm so excited that people are doing that, because I love my local yarn stores. I go there a lot. I love that I know when they're going to be open, and when they're open for business, there's always a table open or some chairs. I can just go in, take my project, and sit and knit and chat with people. I love that. They have all this stuff. So go support your local yarn store and get to know them. The more you can be there and get to know them and they recognize you, the better chance you're going to have at saying, hey, you know what I really want you to do is bring in Potion Yarns for a trunk show. And that's the next step. Once you've started to establish a relationship, tell them, say, hey, have you guys ever heard of Potion Yarns? Give them my business card if you have one. If you have some of my yarn, please take the hank-in or your project that you've knitted up, show them my yarns. The best thing you can do is show them my yarns. They will feel it, they will see it, and usually that's all I have to do to get a trunk show booked, is get them to see it and feel it, and they're like, when can you come? Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that'll happen. If it's far away, it might not work out. If they aren't into that, I have a shop in a town not far from here in Kansas City, and there's this town in Kansas that I went to try and get a yarn shop to host a trunk show, and I talked to them, and they were frankly just like, yeah, we don't really do that. We don't really do indie dyer trunk shows. We kind of just focus on like commercial companies. Okay, that's that's fine. That's not for you. I just won't come to your town and do your little trunk show, but I went another town over and they're like, please come in and do it. And it was great. So, you know, it's kind of your audience. So your yarn shop just may not be into it, and that's okay. But at least ask them, show them the yarn if you can. Now, what if you've never bought from me before and you still really want me to come? You can still ask them. Go online, take your phone in, take something in, say, hey, have you heard of Potion Yarns? Could you Google it right now? Or here, I have it up on my phone. Here it is. Take them my contact info. I put a link to my shop in every video, and I will also put an email on here, or if you can click over to each of my videos, if you click over to my bio page on YouTube, it has an email, a way to contact me, my shop, and my Instagram, all that. Give them my shop website and or my email and ask them to contact me about a show. The best thing you can do is tell your local yarn store that you want them to bring me in and have them contact me. Now here's the tricky part. They have a lot on their plates. They don't always do it. So the second part of that is send me an email or a message and say, hey, I'm in such and such town. Blah, 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 blah is the name of my local yarn shop, and so is the owner's name. I would really love for you to do a trunk show. I gave them your info. Could you reach out to them? I typically prefer for the shop to reach out to me. It's a better guarantee that they're going to be motivated to have me in, that they're going to work with me on terms, and that they're going to work on advertising and getting people in because they want me to be there. So that's a better situation, which is why I always tell you to start by talking to your local yarn shop and ask them to ask me. But I am totally open, and I'm a super extrovert people person. I don't mind going and calling or emailing someone I've never met before and being like, hey, can I come show you my stuff and sell it? I tend to be pretty outgoing, and I'm not scared to go and talk to people. So I love it when you can also give me a heads up, and even if you just let me know, hey, I talked to my shop, they might be contacting you, here's the name, that gives me something to look out for, so that when that shop contacts me, I can be like, oh, hey, I know this, my customer so-and-so lives in their town and told them about me. This is great. So that's the best way to get me to come in. Do a trunk show in your town. Another great thing you can do is research what fiber festivals or yarn shows are in your town or surrounding areas. I had someone recently contact me from Minnesota. She really wants me to come up there. I have a friend who just moved up to Minnesota. I really want to go visit her. But I was like, hey, I know there are some shows in that area of the country, but I'm not familiar with any of them. Can you help me do a little research? Because I'm super overwhelmed and inundated, and there's 50 states plus other countries to all worry about, like looking up yarn shows, right? It's a lot on my plate. So if you know of any or you can find any, let me know. And the best thing to do is if you have gone to the show and you know, hey, this is a good crowd, they like Indy dyed yarn, they buy a lot of yarn, there's a lot of people come through here, let me know. So please just let me know what's coming to your town. And then the very best thing you can do, the very best thing to get me or any other Indy Dyers to come in is buy Indy dyed yarn from your local yarn shop, from the festivals. Go to the festival. Go to your local yarn shop. Even if you don't buy anything, go. Get familiar, start to build relationships, get to know people, join your fiber guild or your knitting guild, which I need to do. It's been on my to-do list for an entire year now, y'all, and I still haven't joined the guild. I even got the application, and I just need to turn in my paperwork and pay my yearly fee and just join it. So I'm gonna go do that, and you should go do that too. Get to know these people, get involved in the community, and they're more likely to be like, oh, hey, that's a great suggestion you had to bring in this person, let's do it. And if I can at all make it, I will definitely try to do it. My goal is to get around the 50 states as much as possible in the next few years, but it's a lot. So be patient with me and be willing to drive a little bit, because I might have to just come to like your general area, not your actual town. So I hope that gives you guys some inspiration to go get involved, go support your local yarn stores, ask Indy Dyers that you love to come out by asking the shops to invite them and letting us know what shops and what festivals are good to go to. So that's about all we have for today. Time to cast off. Love you.